This is a short follow-along sequence which you can do before your hip mobility work. We're going to start in a straddle. Doesn't need to be too wide, just a natural straddle. And then we're going to bend from one side where you bend both knees back into straddle to the other side. You always want to go into more or less of a 90-degree angle in your knee. The chest is still pointing forward. If you can't keep your upper body upright, an alternative is to have the hands behind you, and you can do exactly the same. This is just creating a little bit of space into the hips, a little bit of movement there. And then next time, when your knees are pointing to the right side, we're going to lift the hips. So push the right leg down into the ground, lift the hips, and when you're up, we're going to push the hips forward to open up the hip flexors. Now to sink back down, think of the left glute, the internally rotated leg, wants to touch the floor first. It won't happen, but the intention should be there, and the chest should always face me. And then we're going to switch through the straddle again to the other side. Chest is still facing me, but now the left knee is pushing down into the floor. So you can lift the hips, push the hips forward, squeeze the glute, feel hip flexor stretch. And then we want to get the right glute to the floor first. Internal rotation of that right leg. And then we straddle, go to the other side and lift and push back to the floor. Just moving back a bit. Straddle, other side, lift, push. I'm going to do that a couple of more times. Extending the hips, straddling the legs, extending the hips, sit down, straddling the legs. Now we're going to go once more to the right side. Lift the hips up, push, sink back down, stay. Rotate the chest towards the right knee, fold forward and come back up. We're going to do a few pigeon folds here. So think of bringing the chest towards that knee, lengthening the spine. Reach your chest forward rather than down. Going to go for 3 more. 2. Last one. Come back, and what are we going to do? Back into straddle. Bend into both knees to the left side. First, we're going to lift the hips, push hips up, sink the hips back down, rotate the chest to the left knee, and we're going to fold forward. Either you can have the hands behind you, or if it's too much for your glutes, because now we're stretching the glutes, you can have the hands on the floor to support the position a little bit. I'm going to do 3 more of these reps. 2, 3, come back up, we straddle, we bend the knees to the right, we lift the hips, we sink back down, we're going to do 1 pigeon fold, come back up, straddle the legs, same to the left, lift the hips, slow and controlled hips go down, rotate the chest, fold forward, come back up and straddle, once more each side. Lift, down, fold, up, straddle. It makes it nice and flowy once you get the pattern. Beautiful. Now we're going to add 1 more element. Lift the hips. Now hold it here. Push the right knee into the floor. Step the left leg forward and then bend into the knee. So now you feel the hip flexor stretching and the inner thighs. Come back, swing that leg back onto the floor, rotate the chest and pigeon fold. This might feel a little bit awkward on the knee. So if you have a mat underneath you, probably a little bit more comfortable. Lift the hips, swing the back leg forward. Sink into the hip, feel the hip flexor stretching, inner thigh stretching, push back, slow and controlled slide back, sink down, rotate the chest, fold forward, come back up. Once more, straddle, bend knees, lift hips, step the foot to the side, fold in, come back, balance on that knee to get back, pigeon fold, back up, straddle the legs, once more to the other side, lift, step, push forward, back, swing back, down, pigeon, up, and back into straddle. We can just stop here. You can do as many reps as you want once you have the pattern of this whole sequence, or we can go a little bit more, a little bit further into a few pancake folds. Just very gentle up and down. If your pancake is very rounded, I encourage you to lift the hips onto a block that allows you to actually get into an anterior pelvic tilt, so you can think of lifting the pelvis up and over the femur, the thigh bone, so you can keep the spine long and straight. Always think in a pancake to reach forward rather than down. And we just very, very gently bounce here a little bit. And slowly come up, lift the right arm up, rotate the chest towards the ceiling, and then come to the side, so it's a side bend. Make sure the sitting bone of your opposite side is still grounded on the floor. Usually what people do is they want to go really, really low, but then this hip actually lifts, so we want to keep it grounded so you feel a nice long stretch in your side body. And then come back to center. We're going to do the other side. Chest rotates towards the ceiling, arm up and over your head, and then stay grounded with that opposite sitting bone. Hold it here. And then slowly come back to center. Bring the legs together. And this was the short warm-up sequence that can be done anytime, but it's awesome before any mobility work.